Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, The Cutest Little Thing, Upcycle with Andrea. I am Andrea, and I thank you so much for hopping on to watch this video today. If you enjoy thrift flips, DIYs, upcycling, home decor, and all of the above, then you are at the right place. I hope that you enjoy this video today, and if you do, give me a like and even share it with a friend who you think will like it too. Hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos. For this project, I have this sign that I thrifted at my Goodwill. It was really pretty. I love the black beaded handle, and I love that frame going around it, the color of that stain and everything. It was $1.99. I took off the price tag, just cleaned it up with some rubbing alcohol and just wiped it down really well. I'm going in with the color ink in the Waverly, which is a black chalk paint. And I'm going to just paint the front of the sign with that, and I end up doing 2 coats. And I thought about leaving the frame part that stain color because I really liked it, and it would have still looked good and looked farmhousey, but I end up painting that frame red. And 1 coat of my black chalk paint would have been enough, but where it had the words "Let's Stay Home" and that little design on the left-hand side, that was wanting to kind of peep through on me. So I didn't want that trying to bleed through, so I went ahead and did 2 coats just to make sure I had really good coverage on that. And I was just being careful painting around that frame. I didn't want to take the time and tape it off or anything, so I was just being super careful. And I knew if I got any paint around that frame, I was going to paint it red anyway, so I could have painted over it. Now that our paint is dry on the back piece, I wanted to go ahead and stencil on my little sign here, my horse-drawn sleigh ride sign. I purchased this off of Amazon, and I will link that in the description below. So I just made sure, I was very careful to make sure it was centered. I am going at the bottom, I'm going to do some embellishments, and at the top, I'll probably do a bow or something like that. But I'm just going in with this little sponge brush that I get from Walmart, and I started kind of dabbing on with that. Oh, and I am using plaster in the Waverly, my off-white chalk paint. But that little sponge brush did better on the larger sections, like the little sleigh I'm doing right now, and it didn't do as well on my letters and the smaller parts of the sign. So I did end up going back and using my little stencil brush to get those letters and those smaller parts instead of the little sponge brush. So when you're stenciling, you don't want to get too much on your brush. You want to kind of offload after you dip it into your paint. And I will kind of do a dabbing motion, but I will also hold that stencil tight, and I'll kind of do a back and forth motion just to get that paint in the entire groove. And as long as you keep that stencil paper pressed down firmly, you won't have to worry about those bristles going up under the stencil and smearing and smudging and making marks on there that you don't want. Just make sure you hold it in place the entire time. And I did end up going back over that sleigh with some red after I did the white, so I really love how that turned out. I just love that so far, you guys. So now I'm going in and painting that frame, the red color. That's the color Crimson in the Waverly. I really like this red color. A lot of times I have to kind of add something to red or maybe even tone it down a little bit. And with some projects, I will add antique wax or like coffee grunge to give it just more of an antique look. But for this project, I just wanted that bright red, Christmassy red. But I really love this color for that reason. And our little black hanger is just perfect for this sign. Now it's time for the embellishments. I'm just taking some red mesh I got from Hobby Lobby. Those little candy cane ribbons are from Walmart. And that buffalo plaid was from, I got it last year, I want to say Amazon. And then I had some little burlap strips. I'm just going to make a little bow. I just put that mesh at the bottom and crisscross the other ribbons on top. And just kind of place them, played around with it and got them placed how I wanted. And I tied it all together with my jute string. And then that little half bead there, I chalk painted black, and I added that in the center with some hot glue. And I'm going to add that right to the top. So I took a good bit of hot glue there because I wanted to be sure it was good and secure. So I put that right at the top and just adjusted those ribbons. I like to use wired ribbon because it's easier to adjust and they kind of stay in place versus regular ribbon that doesn't have the wire in it. These cute picks are from Walmart. I picked them up for $1.28. And I just took two and sort of crisscrossed them and put them together. And I wired them together with some floral wire. I just love these. I think they are so pretty. I love the flock, the snow, that it has on it, the red berries and the pine cones. And I just think $1.28 is a pretty good deal for those. I did want some extra hold for that. I didn't want to worry about it coming off. I couldn't find my staple gun, so I just took a little brad nail and nailed it there in that frame. And I took that floral wire that I used to tie those picks together, and I'm just going to wrap that wire around that little brad nail. And I also put some hot glue just to give it a little extra hold. And there it is, guys. I just think that turned out so cute. Let me know what you think. Okay, guys, I know this isn't really Christmas, but this is a project I had that I completed a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to share it. These are metal wall plaques. There's 3 of them. They're all matching. I thrifted them for a couple bucks each. I actually started working on them this summer. I put 1 coat of chalk paint on them. And then I put back in my stash and I never got back to them. So I just got these back out. I was just showing you here on the back how it's metal and there's a hanger on all sides, so you can hang them whichever design you want. But I'm just going back in with chalk paint. I'm using the Waverly Inspirations in the color Plaster. And I just went ahead and did 2 full coats of that chalk paint on all 3 of these pieces. Now I'm going in with the color Mineral. And I also mixed in a little bit of wax with that chalk paint just to sort of add a sealer to this. Since I am painting on metal, it helps when I add sealer to the paint. It helps it adhere. So I'm just going in with a dry brushing technique. I'm just getting a little bit of paint on the tip of my brush, and very light-handedly I am going over all the raised details in this piece. very lightly, and I'm making all my strokes the same way. I'm trying to run that paintbrush going in the same direction. And the other paintbrush I have in my hand, it's one of those chippy paintbrushes, and it's just a clean brush. It doesn't have anything in it, and I'm just kind of using it as a blender brush. So I'll just do the dry brushing technique over those details, and then I'll go in with that chippy paintbrush and just sort of blend it all in, and it's also wiping away that excess paint off of there. And see how pretty that's looking, and it just makes all that detail pop in the piece. I started to leave it all white because I thought that was really pretty, and I'm also going to add something to each piece. So I thought that just the plain white would be really pretty as is. But last minute I just decided to add a little bit of color to those raised details. I also went around the edge with that same mineral paint with the wax mixed in. And I just did that same dry brushing technique all around the edges and on the corners. Very lightly and very carefully. And when you're doing dry brushing, you don't want to get a lot of paint on your brush. And you can even dab off some of the excess paint after you dip your paintbrush into the paint. You can then offload paint off of your brush so that you don't get too much paint in one spot. I have these little grapevine mini wreaths. I had them in my stash. I picked them up at one of the local craft stores where I live, and they've been in my stash. I also have all these different ribbons and laces and burlaps and jute strings and greeneries. And I'm just going to make some cute little mini wreaths for each one of those wall pieces. And I'm going to hang a wreath on each one. I have some eucalyptus greenery here. I just cut a piece. I order this. It comes in garland pieces, and I order it off of Amazon. And I love having it on hand. It's so handy to add for embellishments for your projects, and it goes a long way. I also have these cotton stems I get off of Amazon as well. I'm sort of just arranging everything first and getting it how I want it and how I like it. And then I'll go back in with some hot glue and secure all those pieces so they'll be stable and stay in place. But I always like to just kind of stick everything and arrange everything first, and then I go back in with my hot glue. Those little pieces of ferns also came from Amazon, and I just kind of cut those stems. They were long stems, and I just cut those, and with the grapevines you can just stick those stems right in the grapevine. You don't have to have foam or anything. Well, not for this mini one. You may want to do some foam for a bigger grapevine wreath, but that worked for this one. And here I'm just making a bow. I just took all of those different ribbons and burlap and lace, and I just cut into strips and tied everything together with jute string. And I left some of the lace dangling down, like the little like a bow, like the hanger part. I cannot think of what that's called. The two little ribbons hanging down from the bow. I did want those added on, so I just took a couple of little pieces of that lace and I just hot glued it onto the back of the bow and just let them hang. And I thought that was really cute and just added a cute touch, that lace. And I just hot glued that on, and I did have those little mini pine cones as well, and I hot glued one of those in the middle of that bow. And I thought I needed a little more greenery down at the bottom under my bow, so I just went in and I hot glued the very end of the stem and then just stuck that into the grapevine wreath as well. The little wire pieces I cut off the cotton, I actually ended up using those to kind of tie around the greenery pieces and bow, and it just kind of gave it some extra support. So those came in handy. And I did all 3 wreaths the exact same way where they would match. I did them all about the same way, or I tried to anyway. And then I attached each one to those metal pieces that we painted, and I attached them with lace. And I just thought these turned out super cute, guys. Let me know what you think of these.